Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our World of Paws podcast.
Today we're covering the first film in the Hannah Barbera Cinematic Universe, Scoob.
Scoob, not Scooby.
Not Scooby, that's cool.
Scoob and the gang
No one else calls
face
that.
the most challenging mystery ever, a plot to unleash the ghost dog, Cerberus, upon the world. And as they race to stop this dogpocalypse, the gang discovers that Scoob has an epic destiny greater than anyone imagined.
That's a weird plot for a Scooby-Doo movie. But before we get started, be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
That's right. I thought Scooby's destiny was to stay relevant another 50 years.
Well, me too. Now, we know before we get into it, we know that there's been sort of like a mixed bag with lots of people for the film. There are people that did enjoy it, despite it being a little bit of everything, and some people who kind of have sort of just being an okay film because it is very different from what was advertised. It said it's supposed to be the first movie in this new cinematic universe. And apparently the movie itself went through changes in development. And it turned out a completely different film. And the result seems to be more of what probably the studio wanted rather than what the team wanted when we hear about what happened behind the scenes.
Now we have to mention that probably the numbers were affected by the events that were going on during the release of this movie. It was scheduled for a theatrical release. It ended up being a VOD and DVD release instead.
Right.
So that may have also affected the numbers in all fairness. Now, first let's talk about the changes to this franchise.
Like everything!
I'm going to call it a franchise. And let's start with the voice actors who are portraying the characters.
Yes. Well, you may have known this from the time that Scoob was announced. They announced their cast, and a lot of people, including the original voice cast for Scooby-Doo, were shocked to learn that almost none of them will be reprising their roles except for Frank Welker as Scooby-Doo.
That's correct.
But he cannot, for some reason, they would not allow him to play Fred, and he instead is voiced by Zac Efron.
Yes. And you have Will Forte as Shaggy Rogers. Never would have guessed in a billion years that he would voice this character.
Right.
You have
Gina Rodriguez
as
Velma, which was a very surprising choice.
And Amanda Seyfried as Daphne Blake.
Yeah, and like we said, Frank Welker does the voice of Scooby-Doo. I guess he was irreplaceable for him, which makes sense. But a lot of people were confused on why he only voiced Scooby and not Fred, and the other people who voiced the characters were not allowed to come back. It's a little weird.
Well, Disney, as we know, is a youth-oriented franchise, and it appears that they did the same thing with this franchise. All of the characters, except for Scooby-Doo, have been replaced by younger voice actors. That seems to be the case. Yeah. In all honesty, not tiptoeing around the issue, it seems like they replaced all of the voice actors with younger versions. Now, Zac Efron, I think, did a great job of being Fred Jones. I just personally would have rather heard
Frank Welker.
Absolutely. And Seyfried also did a great job sounding as Daphne. And Will Forte, there were times that he sounded like Shaggy and there were times that he didn't. So it seems like he really didn't have a grasp on the portrayal as we're used to, or maybe he was interpreting a different way.
It's possible, because this is the first time he's voiced his character, and we don't know if he was shown Scooby-Doo clips with Matthew Lillard or Casey Kasem for research and how to do the voice. He might have just said, here, do Shaggy, and then that's it.
Well,
do Shaggy.
Know, as old as the original franchise was, is not a person who doesn't know who Scooby-Doo or the Scooby Gang is. So he had to know what he sounded like.
Right.
And, of course, as you mentioned, Frank Welker was there as Scooby-Doo, perfect as always.
Right.
And Gina Rodriguez is Velma Dinkley. Unfortunately for me, that's where I had the problem. And it wasn't because she was voicing the character and she didn't sound like the character. But the most part for me was because the character was entirely changed for the voice actor.
Right.
So she was unrecognizable, not only in looks, but also in behavior. And even, the things we love, like Jinkies and
Zoinks,
and I lost
Jeepers.
my glasses.
Yeah, I can't find my glasses. which she did not do the
None
entire
of them
film.
were there. And I know there are people who probably say, well, hey, you know, it's a change. I understand that. But with the other characters, they made sure there was some connect between the new version and the original version.
Mm-hmm.
But for Velma, except for
being
the
a
orange
computer
sweater
nerd,
she had on
and being a computer nerd,
and some glasses, there was a disconnect.
I think the purpose of these changes for the characters was to, as you said, update them for a younger audience, which Scooby-Doo didn't really need to do for the past 50 years, except for one mistake. And their designs were also altered. Their voices were also altered. Their personalities were altered. They weren't the same ones you've seen in all these incarnations that were the core characters. Velma for this version is more of the sort of cool, sleek nerd without saying it. Daphne wasn't an airhead. She wasn't danger prone. She wasn't as she was in the original. She was more capable, like Velma apparently. And then Fred was sort of kind of took a step back from being as the capable leader and making traps to just being sort of the driver.
I was going to say, how can you have Fred with no traps? He didn't construct one trap that failed.
Which was
not
weird.
One. And it was, I mean, you want to see what kind of trap he comes up with, because everyone was usually just outrageous or in-depth or convoluted.
Right.
But it was part of what you were used to. He would come up and think about it, and he's like, I've got a great plan. And then the traps. But no, they decided that this friend doesn't need traps. This Velma doesn't need to say the phrases that we love, nor does she need to be a lovable nerd, nor does she need to be not confident, but having that small amount of doubt that makes her relatable and human, even though you know she's brilliant. Having Shaggy not be Shaggy. How in the hell, I'm sorry, can Scooby-Doo and Shaggy be in a movie and they don't freaking eat?
Yes! Oh, yes! That's the last thing we're definitely getting into. Yeah, Shaggy and Scooby, like, they have a pile of food, but they never eat the food, which was odd. Like, your animation
They were imposters.
Right.
They were aliens.
Okay, definitely something I get into as we get into the other characters. One thing is supposed to be a new Scooby-Doo origin movie.
Oh no, we gotta stay on this food bit a little bit before we get to that. One of the biggest, and you know, one of the most dominant, I would say the top 3 traits or characteristics of Scooby and Shaggy is that they eat anything all the time, anywhere, for
they
any
never
reason.
get full, yeah.
And they also got to have Scooby snacks all the time. There were no Scooby snacks. What they did was not a Scooby snack. And they didn't eat. They didn't ask for food. They didn't go looking for food. They didn't raid their fridge and eat everything. They weren't constantly eating and staying trim. It was not, it was just abnormal. It was an abomination that they were not eating.
Yes, all the things that made Scooby and Shaggy weren't really there for this film. And if it's supposed to be an origin, I assume that it was just going to be a late addition to the film. Like, you see how they end up eating all this stuff. You see how they get their traits and stuff. Kind of like with Sonic the Hedgehog, where you saw how all the iconic parts of them came to be. They don't do any of that. All of it was completely skipped over for the sake of doing a friendship is magic trope movie. And it was sort of weird. As you said, that Fred not doing traps, Velma, Daphne, everyone being different. And for me personally, just as much as not seeing Scooby and Shaggy eat was Fred. Like I said, nothing against Zac Efron, did a good job doing the voice, but he didn't say like, "Oh, let's split up."
Yes,
and and the one thing I always liked, he didn't have his own character, but this kind of counts as where he said, "Hey, gang." I love that line, but he doesn't say any of that in this movie. It just sort of says some modern thing. They talk about Netflix for a scene, and that's really the most humor he's gotten here. He talks about, hey, he's using someone else's Netflix account. It's like, huh? Right. Nothing really felt like Fred here.
And as you said, Daphne didn't feel like Daphne. She didn't have her cute little dress on. She didn't have her fashion sense. Daphne was the fashion maven. I mean, she was the fashionista. She wasn't the fashionista in here. She was a mild character that sort of resembled the original. But she wasn't a fashionista. She didn't have to talk about her family being rich and how she had all these connections.
Mm-hmm.
None of that was there.
No,
And she didn't have you can't even tell she likes Fred. You can't even tell Fred likes her. It's like now
it's
they're
reset.
They are
platonic, I guess.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I'm looking for. Thanks. They were platonic, and it was like, I don't have a problem with updating. I don't have a problem with some change. Change can be great, but when you change so much that the characters are unrecognizable except for name only, it's not the same show. It's not the same franchise. And if you were going for something like that, then you succeeded, Disney. You made something totally unrecognizable and something totally different than from what people love. The problem is, people for decades, I don't care what age you are, have been watching Scooby-Doo prior to this change. And you were wanting to see this movie and see some semblance of the characters you love. And if you haven't seen this movie, fair warning, you're not going to see what you're looking for. It's not here. It's not here.
Right.
If you're looking for something totally different, or you're just curious to see what happened, then see it. But if you're looking to see what you're used to, this movie is not it.
Nope.
This movie is not for you.
And that being said, getting into even further for the plot is what comes into both two more issues with the film. The introduction of other Hannah Barbera characters that completely change the movie, and two, they're supposed to be a Scooby-Doo movie without a mystery.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie starts with them splitting up because Simon Cowell comes in and says, hey, I want to endorse you, but I want to take out Scooby and Shaggy. Because they're not really important. They don't do anything but eat everything and mess up.
Which they didn't even do in this movie.
Yeah, so, Mr. Cowell, what are you talking about?
Why would they have him make that statement, and they don't even do the things he says that make them unimportant? They're not even doing them anymore. It was like, you say one thing, and then the movie did another. Why would he even state that the characters did something they didn't even do in the freaking movie?
And what was so weird is, like, why is Simon Cowell in here? It was probably one of the most weirdest celebrity appearances. Well, Scooby-Doo has a bunch of celebrity appearances playing themselves. It has always been hilarious. For some reason, Simon Cowell was like, oh my gosh, he's in this movie. And then it's like, he jumpstarts the plot. Like, did Simon Cowell write the movie too? Did he help direct it? No, we just want to have him in here to jumpstart it because Scooby. It's like, it just was so out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, this man is the reason why the entire plot kicks off. And then it gets to the part of the movie introduced to the other Hanna-Barbera characters.
As you mentioned, now they brought back, well, they didn't really bring back, let's just explain what happens. When it said the Blue Falcon and Dynamite were in here, I was excited because, yeah, they had their little relationship. Dynamite was goofy. Blue Falcon was a straight man, the serious superhero. Well, in here, that's not happening no more.
Nope.
They have Mark Wahlberg, who I think is fantastic. I love him in many movies, doing Blue Falcon. But now he's the son of Blue Falcon. And he's a screw-up. And he's trying to find himself.
Yes.
And now Dynamite is the straight guy and a serious character voiced by Kim Jong.
Of all people.
And what was really weird is you love Kim Jong being goofy, but in here they decided let's give him range on a character that normally was goofy, and let's make him the opposite, and let's make him irritated and frustrated with Blue Falcon's son.
Yes.
I don't understand.
No one, and I didn't get that either. And it seemed like a lot of people had caught on to this. It seemed like after the introduction of these two characters, and then Dee Dee Sykes from the Teen Angels, of all people, they pick her, and voiced by, what was her name again?
Kiersey Clemens.
Thank you.
Whom we're not familiar with.
Not really.
Then you had Tracy Morgan as Captain
Caveman.
Now here's the problem with Captain Caveman.
He didn't sound like Captain Caveman.
Well, first of all, Captain Caveman never spoke. Ooga booga, booga booga booga. It's all that he would ever say. The girls understood him. He was the one who was inept. He would maybe hit somebody with his club every once in a while, but the Teen Angels were the smart ones. Now they switched it to Tracy Morgan. His Captain Caveman is dope. His Captain Caveman
is cool.
And he has a whole entourage of people that watch him do battle. Where the heck did these other cave people come from?
The Flintstones?
That was the thing about Captain Caveman. He was a relic. He was left over. They found him in ice. He was the only one. Now there's a whole bunch of them. You don't know where the hell they came from.
Right. Which, oh yeah, we gotta mention that. Yeah, there's a one part of the movie which we're gonna get to just a second. Is Scoob, where we're bringing it to all from Blue Falcon to Deity to Captain K-Man. The movie has like identity crisis. It keeps going to all these different genres, and you can't tell what the heck's going on anymore. At first, it starts out Scooby-Doo mystery, where it really isn't a mystery. Then it goes into some reason a superhero movie with Blue Falcon fighting Dick Dastardly, who's probably the best part of this movie. Then it goes into an adventure flick where they're solving mysteries, rewriting history. We're going to this like secret island where dinosaurs and the cavemen didn't die out, and then we go into a prophecy that Scooby is the descendant of Alexander the Great's dog, and he's gonna open up a portal to hell, and it's like, oh, stop! There's too many things going on in this movie.
It's too busy. It's like a piece of clothing with too many patterns on it. It's just too busy. You don't know where to focus. You don't know where the main arc is, because there is none. And I really, really was hoping that the things I was hearing about this movie were just, being overdramatic, not true. But I'm sorry to say the majority of contradictions and criticisms I heard about this movie, unfortunately, are valid. Before we continue, let's at least talk about the good things that happened.
Yes.
The animation was nice.
Fantastic.
The beginning of the movie actually started with the Scooby-Doo song, the same song.
Right.
They didn't change
it. And it redid the intro.
Yes, and that was fantastic. As I said, Zac Efron was great. Amanda Seyfried was great. They did great with what they were given. Mm-hmm. And I can't fault them for anything going on in this movie. Mark Wahlberg was fantastic with the role he was given.
And his role was believable, yeah.
And of course, Kim Jong was great, but it was just weird him being a straight man and not having any sense of humor, which is what you love to hear from him.
Yeah, and it was weird because you thought as the original Dynamite that'd be the perfect role for him.
Exactly. Frank Walker, of course, was superb, outstanding, and flawless. Yeah, you got a little backstory how Shaggy met Scooby, and it's different from the original that we know about. And this one was cute.
Right.
It was very cute.
I did enjoy that.
We should have known something was wrong, though, when they didn't gobble down their sandwiches. We should have known
they
something was
took little
wrong.
bites. It's like, what?
It was a cute little backstory.
Yeah. And they also showed that Shaggy is kind of like Deku. He's a big Blue Falcon fan. So I guess that was sort of the shout out to the superhero genre, which they kept intact because that is part of the storyline.
And still leaving Daphne as the brilliant one was also a good thing. Mm-hmm. And that they're still together was also a good thing. That they weren't broken up into Scoob and Shaggy on one hand and then the rest on the other is good, because we have seen that happen before. Those were the good things. And the last good thing is at least Frank Walker's still working. So that's fantastic.
And I'm sorry, were you good? Okay. Making sure. I want to make sure. Two more things I want to add to the positives. Lots of Hannah Barbera Easter eggs. Like they even have the names of Scooby's original voice actor for Messick Mountain.
Yes.
And they actually had the man who designed Scooby-Doo. It was, what was the name again? Toko. They used it in a taco place. It was Toko.
If you know, tell us he was Japanese, which we didn't know, and all these times we've been watching it, that a Japanese artist actually designed Scooby-Doo. That was fun to learn also at the end of the movie in special features. Yes. So yes, you're absolutely right. That was cool. Right. And the Easter definitely eggs. Positives.
And Dick Dastardly, the villain, didn't expect him to be the villain. I kind of thought he would be in the wacky racist movie they're gonna do. But I say he was actually a very entertaining villain. He's probably the best part of this whole film, if he already attached to the regular hero characters.
The one thing about that, though, is he wasn't like the Dick Dastardly Yes, I know he had to be updated, but he was more like Jim Carrey in Sonic movies.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. That's what you see, like an animated version of the live-action version of an animated character. I don't know how the heck that even happened.
That's true. So those are the good things that we can find to say about this movie. Do I hope for a sequel? Not at this
There's probably not going to be one. It said somewhere that's going to be a standalone film. This is just to get the thing started.
Okay.
There's going to be other movies like for the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Tom and Jerry, Wacky Races, which is like the Avengers.
There's also going to be the return of Grape Ape, which I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
There was the return of Jabberjaw, which again I don't know why. There was the return of Captain Caveman. Tracy Morgan's got work. I'm good. There's a return of
Adam Ant,
who now his body actually looks like an ant. He's got multiple arms instead of just the two we know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we can see what they do with that. And I think there was one more character.
Yeah, actually they're gonna bring back Frankenstein Jr.
Yes, and again, I don't know why.
And the Johnny Quest family,
which I'm looking forward to see
right.
because I have liked Johnny Quest.
Right.
So. Yes, they're rebooting all of these characters, and I would have to say on that note, that's not such a bad idea. Mm-hmm. I just think some of the characters probably shouldn't have been returning. But it's a good idea so that others can know about these characters who don't, and maybe there will be an audience for them.
Right.
And they'll get some more voice actors work, which we always are in favor of.
Yes. And there's one final thing I gotta mention is that when we heard about Scoob like a few years back and before it kept getting pushing forward and forward to now, to 2020, it was, here's the thing, when you heard Scoob, it looked like an acronym. You notice now it doesn't have dots in between to be an acronym. Original plot of the movie was that Scooby and the gang were recruited into his organization and recruit other Hanna-Barbera characters, which was essentially like its own parody of the Avengers Initiative. It'd be like, I guess, the Hanna-Barbera Initiative, and they would find all these characters to bring together into this agency to fight evil. And that actually sounded like a whole nother movie, and they actually had a tone that was more like Mystery Incorporated series. And they had a more Halloween theme. It was going to be even darker. And they would eventually meet each other and join up to defeat a greater evil. But it seemed like Warner Brothers had a hand in this and decided to just kind of scrap that because a lot of these things were changed for the studio. So what a movie could have had was like a dark comedy, actions, super spy movie kind of turned into a collage of multiple different genres, especially since Mystery Machine got blown up.
Now you're giving away spoilers.
Well, I'm sorry, the machine. Why'd you do that to the machine?
Yes, I was sad to see that because I'm like, the Mystery Machine is such a freaking great car. I want a car like the Mystery Machine. But yeah, unfortunately, the spoiler has been put out. It's destroyed.
So all right.
To me, it was like they were saying goodbye to the old Scooby-Doo that you know, and this is the new Scoob. Don't come with that crap.
Oh, goodness.
And in everything that happened in the movie, it seemed to be they were saying goodbye. But again, you have to understand, this is what Disney does when they acquire a franchise. They kill off the old and they create the new. It's no surprise. It's what they do. It's their trademark. So you either roll with it or you find another franchise. So, final thing. Was this movie terrible? No. Was it fantastic? No. I would give it a 5 out of 10.
Yes, and I think, it was an okay film. You won't be bored when you watch it because there's just so many things happening. So many in your window. So many things for everybody, whether you like them or not. It's something you should watch just to have fun with, even if you don't care for the story. It is fun to watch and seeing how crazy the story gets and just escalates into madness.
And then you can sit and see the things that have changed for you, knowing what you love about the original franchise.
Right.
So, if you have seen Scoob, not Scooby, not Scooby-Doo.
Not Scoobert.
Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you hoping for a possibility of a sequel? And if no sequel, are you looking forward to the building of the new character, of the return of the characters from the original Hanna-Barbera franchise?
Yes. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Multiple Paws videos.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting flashing lights, trying to walk around. from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you